Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. We're going to talk about the millennial generation and why they are not really trying to work for government agencies, from the federal to the state to the local. Well, I'm going to give you my perspective and the perception, of how I look at things when it comes to millennials not really wanting to work in the public sector and they rather work in the private sector. And the perception, obviously, as you see from this picture, is that the millennials are lazy and entitled, narcissistic, etc. And a lot of them are still living with their parents, obviously, because always bear in mind that millennials are the first generation guaranteed to die with mountains and mountains of student loan debts and other debts, because that's just the society that we live in right now. But my perspective is, one thing I do agree with that a lot of people say about millennials is that they're very unorthodox. They're not waiting to fall in love with the status quo. And I love that about my generation, and I hope future generations are on board with that as well. When it comes, because right nowadays we have a lot of people who are retiring from the government workforce. They're like, hey, I've done my 30 to 40 years. I'm ready to let the young people have at it, and I'm going to enjoy my golden years. Excuse me. And I think that's awesome. But and this, obviously, this Mimi is, it kind of coexists with the whole Generation Xers to the baby boomer generations, because you have those generations that are either retired or looking to retire, and this is their perspective when it comes to millennials. And millennials have their little backlash when it comes to that perspective. And every generation is different. At the end of the day, people are people, but every generation is different. And according to the Partnership for Public Service, only 7% of millennials are government employees, but 23% of the private sector workforce consists of millennials. So it tells you where the millennials more. It used to be a time when my parents were in their 20s and 30s, they were more, everybody was leaning towards becoming government employees. And now with my generation, more people are either trying to become entrepreneurs or they're trying to work in the private sector, and they're trying to live a life that they don't have to vacation from on a regular basis. But that's just my perspective when it comes to one aspect of the millennial generation. There's various other aspects when it comes to the millennial generation. But it's like, that's the one thing I could say that's near and dear to my heart. And as you can see, when it comes to all the people from the baby boomer generation retiring, because they were the generation that worked hard, stayed at the same job, lived in the same communities forever and a day, unless they were obviously in the military or just ended up getting a job elsewhere. But they built strong relationships with people, not via obviously Facebook and Twitter, etc. and so forth, but they built bonds through their communities, through their churches, through their jobs. Everybody stayed at one place for the most part for at least 20 to 30 years. So it was just easier to have a community when people aren't constantly sporadically moving about or constantly sporadically living on their cell phone and their computer. So different time period, but that's just one of those things. But what's really near and dear to my heart is the thing of flexibility. Because you see all the social media stuff going on a regular basis. Hey, I'm a person who loves to indulge in social media on a regular basis. It's a part of my life. It is what it is, whether good or bad. It's a part of my life. I'm a millennial. I wear that badge proudly. But what's near and dear to my heart is, being able to be flexible. Millennials love having the option of being flexible when it comes to a job or even having their own business. If they don't really see that flexibility, you end up with the sorry, not interested, zero interest, because they feel like that 40 to 50, 60 hours a week job is sucking the life out of them, and they feel like they're not even really contributing anything except just doing the status quo norm stuff, paying their taxes, paying bills, and not really feeling that they're a part of anything much bigger, obviously, unless they're part of like the police force and military, etc. and so forth. What I love about this slide is that millennials want to not be the status quo like these people. They don't want to dress up and wear suits and ties and all that good stuff. And they don't want to have to go to an office 40, 50, 60 hours a week. They want to be able to do work that matters, one, and be like this guy. Be on his computer, have his pets or kids, whichever have you, or just be by themselves, and have the flexibility to be able to work from home sitting in their shorts and a t-shirt and chomping away. And even if they're on the phone, or if they're sending emails, or if they're working on projects, and even if they're doing a VTC, they do not want status quo. Status quo for a lot of people is considered a death sentence. And I will say it again, status quo for the millennial generation is considered a death sentence, and more private sector industries are latching on to that. And I'm not going to say that certain government agencies haven't, because they have, but majority of the new tech companies and engineering companies, gas companies, etc., and so forth. The list goes, health companies, the list goes on and on. People want flexibility, and even if they're not working from home 5 days a week, at least have the option of working home for 2 to 3 days out of the work week. I know people that have that option and they love it. They wouldn't trade it for the world. They do not miss being in the office 8 to 10 hours out of a day. They love the fact that they don't have to worry about fighting traffic, getting up an hour to 2 hours extra earlier before their shift starts to avoid the traffic. They love not being a part of that crazy rat race grind. It's a crazy concept, but it just might work. The idea of working from home is real, and if you out there for your government organizations and your companies, listen to the millennials, because they will go to the people who are ready to listen, and that is your competition. Remember that is your competition, and it is what it is. This is a reality. I mean, a lot of government organizations are having a hard time not only recruiting millennials, but like I said earlier, retaining them. Retention rate is at an all-time low. And a lot of people are not being retained at even private sector corporation jobs. So if they're having a hard time retaining people, and it's not at their fault of them letting them go, whether it's economic upturn or a downturn, but it's just the fact that there's so much flexibility going on with a lot of millennials. Like, okay, I'm bored here, I'm not really feeling this, I'm ready to move on to the next project. And it's like, okay, maybe I'll go to the private sector. I'm not really feeling that so much, so maybe I end up becoming my own entrepreneur. The list goes on and on. And with a lot of HR specialists within the government agencies, from the federal public from the federal, state, and local governments, they've stated that when they're looking for professionals, in today's market, one of the things that professionals tell them is that they want their work to be meaningful. They want to see the clear mission. They want to see the vision ahead. They don't just want to collect a paycheck. Obviously, the flexibility of schedules is high on the priorities list. But what isn't high on the priorities list is job security. And that used to be obviously the biggest thing with my parents' generation, was job security. But given the fact that you have so many options out there, you try your darndest to take advantage of it, and if you feel like you can't take advantage of it, this is how you end up working at a job. And then obviously having somebody that looks like this and has this attitude, it's actually going to bring the quality of life down at your organization, whether it's government or private sector jobs. And the thing is, with today's, you have so many side hustles, and I can just only imagine what the side hustles of tomorrow are going to be, from Uber, Amazon, Lyft, and Grubhub. People have the opportunity to have more flexibility, and the regular idea of just having a regular 9 to 5 is becoming another thing of the past. More millennials are just not interested in that, and they love the fact that because of what these flexibilities of what these great side hustles do for people, it allows them to have more free time and energy to not only open up their business, but to retain their business. And when they have time, they have to put time into the business, and they don't have to work. They can't work. They don't have to ask permission of their employer to take off. They just don't log into their side hustle or their main hustle, however you want to look at it. So it's just another way of looking at things. It's like that's the world we live in now, and a lot of people don't want to take heed to it. And hey, it is what it is. Some old dogs you can teach new tricks, and some you can't. That's just the reality of it all, and that's just the way we live in. Because at the end of the day, the old days are over. And the old days are not coming back anytime soon. Now, if by some miracle they do, then hey, great. I can't predict the future, But I will say that, as you see in this picture, this is the time period where a lot of people, they work one job, they live in the same community, they lived in the same house for 30 years. Most people back during the baby boomer and Generation X generation, they actually paid off their mortgages. It's a crazy concept, but they actually did. They stayed in that one house. They didn't refinance their homes to the brim, and they actually retired without having a mortgage. So all they had to worry about was paying personal property taxes and paying utilities. But you have a lot of people that have the Tim Ferriss complex, which is one of my favorite books, The 4 Hour Work Week, but they don't mind having a mortgage or paying rent for the rest of their lives, as long as they don't have to just go grinding at a job for the rest of their lives. It's a different concept, but it's just the way of the world. But another thing that is very interesting, and I'm sure people already know this, I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't really know when it comes to this, but a lot of millennials do not want to work for government agencies or certain private sector agencies because of, obviously, the legalization of marijuana in these specific states. And I know that there's more on there, but I wasn't going to do overkill. But I definitely wanted to highlight the states that did it first: Colorado and Washington State. As of the beginning of this year, California, the state of Nevada, marijuana is legal. I'm not an advocate for this. I'm not promoting it in any way because I don't indulge. But I'm just stating facts here. And the fact is that a lot of people do not want Uncle Sam in their business. So they don't want to have to worry about having a clean urinalysis test. A lot of them don't even want to have to worry about taking a polygraph test. I can just imagine for the law enforcement agencies of the future how hard it is it's going to be for them to recruit agents and officers, because a lot of people don't even want to even deal with having to get a government security clearance, polygraph, urinalysis, because they want to indulge. They don't want Uncle Sam in their business. And the crazy thing is, whether you're from the left, right, Democrat, Republican, Independent, a lot of these people, actually, that's one thing that they can find common ground on. Is like, oh yeah, you smoke weed, I smoke weed. Hey, let's toke together. But if you want to talk about an issue that brings a lot of people together, the legalization of marijuana, because it's been proven in the red states and the blue states, hey, Washington, Colorado, blue, California, blue, but guess what's red? Nevada. Guess what's red? Maine. So it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's so people just want to be able to make money and do what the heck they want to do thing. So, and hey, the data's clear. Those states haven't collapsed yet. So you're probably going to have more people in the future doing it. Once again, stating I'm not an advocate for this, but I will say that this is one of the main drives that turns a lot of millennials off from working for a government agency. Just saying, just saying. And obviously, what matters most to millennials? I know what matters more to me as being a millennial: travel more, buy less. Think about it. Travel more, buy less. You have a lot of millennials out there that love the fact that they don't have to work a 9 to 5. That love the fact they can have a job, they can work from home and never even report into an office. Like the video I talk about Americans moving to other countries, but working for U.S. companies in other countries that are 10 times cheaper to live in. And they can live off of $30,000 to $40,000 a year in a country where most people live off of $2,000 to $3,000 a year of American dollars. So it's food for thought, nutrition for the whole brain, something to think about. But you had that whole minimalist movement. A lot of people have no desire to buy an overpriced house, an overpriced car, but they have a huge desire to travel abroad, learn different cultures, learn different languages, embrace change, embrace, in a sense, the I guess you could call it the bliss of being unorthodox and just writing their own chapter, writing their own book, and doing things in a different way. And I commend them for it. Hey, if you're not hurting anybody in the process, you're not breaking any laws in the process, I say go for it. I think it's a great thing. It's a great time to be alive in a sense. I know there's craziness going on in the world. There's always will be craziness going on in the world. But I think it's a great time to be alive and to be a millennial, because thinking outside of the box and living outside of the box is just, in a sense, it's a lot of freedom. And whether they're doing that or not, you see it with the way millennials dress. It's like looking clean cut is considered to be a thing of the past. So the I just rolled out of bed thing is definitely in right now. I'm still old fashioned when it comes to a lot of things. I like to look clean cut when I go to work and when I walk out the house, but people probably look at me like I'm old man, care less. But I will say that process is a beautiful thing. Being able to enjoy a life that matters. Quality of life is a big thing. I've had many friends of mine say it's not about the money, it's about the quality of life. And I've even heard older people say it from my mom's generation. As long as my quality of life goes up, then my paychecks and my money can stay the way that it is. And you got to just think about it. What means the most to you? You know, is it the money or is it the quality of life? For me, it's both. But for me, it's like more money can enhance my quality of life, because more money, if you know what you're doing with it, can enhance your quality of life. But if you're using more money so you can just work more, then that kind of, to me, it kind of kills your quality of life. But everybody looks at things differently, and I can respect somebody's opposing opinion. I know that's a thing of the past too, but that's another story. But according to a 2014 report by the intelligence group, 72% of millennials, they want to be their own boss one day. Shocker there, right? Why do they think this? Well, it's because one of the definitions of being a boss is freedom for a lot of people. Once again, freedom. Freedom equals quality of life. A lot of people love the idea of making their own choices for themselves, and especially obviously for their families, because hey, if the parents' quality of life are great, obviously the kids' quality of life can be great. And being your own boss can give not only you opportunities, but it can also help you and your family have more opportunities and develop better choices all at the same time. And I think that's an awesome thing. And then when it comes to wealth, it's a great way to segue. Wealth to millennials and even myself is just not money. Money's like the tool. It's a little aspect of it. But what does wealth really mean? Well, when they talk about wealth, according to CNN, millennials may not want money to be a part of this. They really don't have that part of discussion. CNN has found that the generation values wealth defined as experiences over money as a whole. Retirement as a concept doesn't rate. Neither does nest eggs, which is, me, I completely disagree. It's like I love having a nest egg, and the idea of retirement to me is this being able to not have it to take a vacation, but from the life that I have. Retirement for me is just being able to do work that I'm excited about and that matters and doesn't consist of a 40-hour work week. That's what retirement is in my book. And the most important thing isn't building up a huge stash of money just to have it. But for millennials, the goal is totally different. If they pay their bills and travel a little, what matters the most is that they are doing something inspiring that they feel passionate about. Bingo. Because when you're passionate about something, you don't work a day in your life. You've got people that have been in the Peace Corps, people that have been in nonprofit groups, people that work at churches, the list goes on, and they might not make a lot of money, but they feel like they're doing work that matters. And they feel passionate about every single day when they get up and they grind it out, because they don't really feel like they're grinding it out, because when you're doing something you love, you don't work a day in your life. CNN also surveyed that rank being in a role that they're passionate about above salary is not only above. The passion is above salary, but it's actually above other benefits at the same time. So it's the idea of having the best health insurance and the best 401ks and the IRAs and et cetera, doesn't really drive their goals in life. When asked what they value the most, like I said earlier, millennials value freedom the most. I concur with that statement 100%, because you can't put a price tag on freedom. But if freedom has me eating outside of a trash can, then we got an issue. But you can't put a price tag on freedom. That's just how I look at it. And companies find these young people will walk away at a moment's notice. If they don't see the meaning in what they're doing, no matter how much they're getting paid. You can't entice millennials a lot with a salary and a promotion. That doesn't really work anymore. The way that you can entice them, as you see in this slide, they call them the company entrepreneur. The company entrepreneur is a person that's actually working on projects that are so high into the point where they actually feel like they're running their own business. I think it's awesome, and I think that's the thing that some companies are jumping on board with, and I see companies of the future jumping on board with that all at the same time, and they're making the workforce feel that much more empowered. I just think it's awesome, because they're not actually entrepreneurs, but they're companypreneurs, and they don't feel like they're just working, but they feel like they're really doing something that matters, And despite the overwhelming drive to brand oneself, being your own boss, few millennials actually run their own show, which is true. A lot of millennials talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. It's like, yeah, I own my own company. I'm talking the talk and I'm walking the walk. Everything's in the beginning stages, but you have to start somewhere, right? Because when you don't start, all you're doing is a mouthpiece, and that's when you should go work for CNN or Fox News or whomever. But that's another story. And the report actually says that due in part to the high levels of indebtedness, that there's a resulting risk aversion. They want to be building a life of their own design, but that still still puts them in a place where they might be working for somebody else, still looking for an environment where they feel like they are trusted and have some ownership over their work. And I think that's awesome. I can concur with a lot of that. But like I said, my take on the millennial mindset, why a lot of times they're not working for government agencies, is really clear. Freedom, ambition, passion. And a lot of people do work for government agencies, and they are very passionate about it, and they do make a difference no matter what level of branch of government that they're working in. So it's all, in a sense, how you take it in. I live in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan Virginia area, the DMV, and a lot of young people, millennials, this is a big place where millennials come to get jobs. And a lot of times it is with the federal government, it could be with the state or local government, and they do feel like they're making a difference throughout the country and throughout the world, and they should be commended. But there's a mindset of a lot of people that didn't grow up in this atmosphere, or is not attracted to the government atmosphere, that they want nothing to do with it, and they want to have a lot more freedom. They don't want to be under that old mindset. Is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. I just think if you respect everyone's opinion, I know that's the thing of the past, and you just move forward, just respect people's wishes. Not everybody's going to get married. Not everybody's going to have kids. Not everybody's going to be in a simple relationship. Not everybody's going to live in a suburb and have to pick a fence with the dogs. It's just what it is. People are different, and I think if more people took the time to respect that fact, then this would be a better planet and a better place all at the same time. Da, 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 da. We're gonna make it after all. First time singing on my channel, don't care. It is what it is. You gotta have a little fun in this life. You work hard, you play hard, and you move forward. And that's how I look at it. If you're a millennial out there and you feel like you're lost, get a government job. It might put you in the right plant, on the right track. And if you don't like it, hey, you get some good money, you get some good benefits. You learn something, you might even make some contacts, and heck, you never know, you might even get great business partners for the future. So just put yourself in an environment at first and see what you like. That's the beauty of the millennial generation. We don't mind bouncing around from environment to environment, whether it's the private sector or the major billion-dollar corporation, whether it's a mom and pop business, whether it's a government organization from any level, whether we're starting our own business. We don't mind. There's more and more of us taking the risks nowadays, and I think that's great, because life's too short. You only get one life, and if you're always playing it safe, then you could just end up either broke, unemployed, or if you have a lot of money, you're very unhappy. Like I see a lot of that in the DMV, or overpaid individuals, but they walk around looking miserable and uptight, and that's why I always call the DMV uptight country. Anyways, always a pleasure. Hope you guys liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up. Please share the video. Please subscribe, and always, let's keep this financial intelligence movement going. Hope you guys like the topic, and you guys take care. Welcome back, everybody. It's another beautiful day. Larry's Anything Goes. We're going to talk about the millennial generation and why they're not really trying to work for the public sector / government. And let's get this going. 1, 2, 3. Let's do it.